Chapter 21. Bailey stuck branches in the ground behind the house and covered them with a worn-through blanket, making a tent. It was to be his Captain Marvel hideaway. There, he initiated girls into the mysteries of sex. One by one, he took the impressed, the curious, the adventurous into gray shadows after explaining that they were going to play Mama and Papa. I was assigned the role of baby and lookout. The girls were commanded to pull up their dresses and then lay on the top and wiggled and then he lay on top and wiggled his hips. I sometimes had to lift the flap, our signal that an adult was approaching, and so I saw their pathetic struggles even as they talked about school and the movies. He had been playing the game for about 6 months before he met Joyce. She was a country girl about 4 years older than Bailey. He wasn't quite 11 when they met, whose parents had died, and she, along with her brothers and sisters, had been parceled out to relatives. Joyce had come to Stamps to live with a widowed aunt, who was even poorer than the poorest person in town. Joyce was quite advanced physically for her age. Her breasts were not the hard little knots of other girls her age. They filled out the tops of her skimpy little dresses. She walked stiffly, as if she were carrying a load of wood between her legs. I thought of her as being coarse, but Bailey said she was cute and that he wanted to play house with her. In the special way of women, Joyce knew she had made a conquest and managed to hang around the store in the late afternoons and all day Saturdays. She ran errands for Mama when we were busy in the store and sweated profusely. Often, when she came in after running down the hill, her cotton dress would cling to her thin body, and Bailey would glue his eyes on her until her clothes dried. Mama gave her small gifts of food to take to her aunt, and on Saturdays, Uncle Willie would sometimes give her a dime for show fare. During Passover week, we weren't allowed to go to the movies. Mama said we must all sacrifice to purify our souls, and Bailey and Joyce decided that the three of us would play house. As usual, I was to be baby. He strung the tent and Joyce crawled in first. Bailey told me to sit outside and play with my doll baby, and he went in and the flap closed. "Well, ain't you going to open your trousers?" Joyce's voice was muffled. "No, you just pull up your dress." There was rustling sounds from the tent, and the sides pooched out as if they were trying to stand up. Bailey asked, "What are you doing?" "Pulling off my drawers." "What for?" "We can't do it with my drawers on." "Why not?" "How are you going to get to it?" Silence. My poor brother didn't know what she meant. I knew. I lifted the flap and said, "Joyce, don't you do that to my brother." She nearly screamed, but she kept her voice low. "Margaret, you close that door." Bailey added, "Yes, close it. You're supposed to be playing with our doll baby." I thought he would go to the hospital if he let her do that to him, so I warned him, "Bailey, if you let her do that to you, you'll be sorry." But he threatened me. He threatened that if I didn't close the door, he wouldn't speak to me for a month. So I let the end of the blanket fall and sat down on the grass in front of the tent. Joyce poked her head out and said in a sugary, white woman in the movies voice, "Baby, you go get some wood. Daddy and I are going to light a fire. Then I'm going to make you some cake." Then her voice changed as if she was going to hit me. "Go, get." Bailey told me after that Joyce had hairs on her thing and that she had gotten them from doing it with so many boys. She even had hair under her arms, both of them. He was very proud of her accomplishments. As their love affair progressed, his stealing from the store increased. We had always taken candy and a few nickels and of course sour pickles, but Bailey, now called upon to feed Joyce's ravening hunger, took cans of sardines and greasy Polish sausage and cheese and even the expensive cans of pink salmon that our family could seldom afford to eat. Joyce's willingness to do odd jobs slackened about this time. She complained that she wasn't feeling all that well, but since she now had a few coins, She still hung around the store eating Planters peanuts and drinking Dr. Pepper. Mama ran her off a few times. Ain't you said you wasn't feeling well, Joyce? Hadn't you better get home and let your auntie do something for you? Yes, ma'am. Then reluctantly, she was off the porch, her stiff-legged walk carrying her up the hill and out of sight. I think she was Bailey's first love outside the family. For him, she was the mother who let him get as close as he dreamed, the sister who wasn't moody and withdrawing and teary and tender-hearted. All he had to do was keep the food coming in, and she kept the affection flowing. It made no difference to him that she was almost a woman, or possibly it was just that difference which made her so appealing. She was around for a few months, and as she appeared out of limbo, so she disappeared into nothingness. There was no gossip about her, no clues to her leaving or her whereabouts. I noticed the change in Bailey before I discovered that she was gone. He had lost interest in everything. He mulled around, and it would be safe to say he paled. Mama noticed and said that he was feeling poorly because of the change in seasons. We were nearing fall, so she went to the wood for certain leaves, made him tea, and forced him to drink it after a heaping spoonful of sulfur and molasses. The fact that he didn't fight, didn't try to talk his way out of taking the medicine, showed without a glimmer of doubt he was very sick. If I had disliked Joyce while she had Bailey in her grasp, I hated her for leaving. I missed the tolerance she had brought to him. He had nearly given up sarcasm and playing jokes on the country people, and he had taken to telling me his secrets again. But now that she was gone, he rivaled me in being uncommunicative. He closed in upon himself like a pond swallowing a stone. There was no evidence that he had ever opened up. And when I mentioned her, he responded with, Joyce who? Months later, when Mama was waiting on Joyce's aunt, she said, Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Goodman. Life's just one thing right after the other. Mrs. Goodman was leaning on the red Coca-Cola box. That's the blessed truth, Sister Henderson. She sipped the expensive drink. Things change so fast it can make your head swim. That was Mama's way of opening up a conversation. I stayed mouse quiet so that I'd be able to hear the gossip and take it to Bailey. Now, you take little Joyce. She used to be around the store all the time. Then she went up just like smoke. We ain't seed her, hide nor hair of her in months. No, ma'am. I'm ashamed to tell you what took her off. She settled in on a kitchen chair. Mama spied me in the shadows. Sister, the Lord don't take little jugs with big ears. You ain't got something to do. I'll find something for you. The truth had to float to me through the kitchen door. I ain't got much, Sister Henderson, but I give that child all I had. Mama said she bound that was true. She wouldn't say bet. And after all I did, she run off with one of those railroad porters. She was loose, just like her mammy before her. You know how they say blood will tell? Mama asked, How did the snake catch her? Well now, understand me, Sister Henderson. I don't hold this against you. I knows you a God-fearing woman, but it seems like she met him here. Mama was flustered. Such goings on at the store? She asked. At the store? Yes, ma'am. 'Member when that bunch of elks came over for baseball game? Mama must have remembered. I did. Well, as it turned out, he was one of them. She left me a teensy note. Said people in stamps thought they were better than she was, and that she hadn't only made one friend, and that was your grandson. Said she was moving to Dallas, Texas, and gonna marry that railroad porter. Mama said, Do Lord. Mrs. Goodman said, You know, Sister Henderson, She wasn't with me long enough for me to get the real habit of her, but still I miss her. She was sweet when she wanted to be. Mamma consoled her with, "Well, we got to keep our mind on the works of the book. It say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away." Mrs. Goodman chimed in, and they finished the phrase together. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I don't know how long Bailey had known about Joyce, but later in the evening, when I tried to bring her name into the conversation, he said, "Joyce, she's got somebody to do it to her all the time now." And that was the last time her name was mentioned.